Here's a question I need you to think about, and I want the honest answer, not the LinkedIn answer, not the we're working on it answer, but the real one. And it is your business designed around AI, or is AI just plugged into your business?
Because those two things are not cousins. They are not twins. They are barely in the same family.
One is architecture.
The other is accessories.
And right now, one of them is becoming the foundation of businesses that are about to pull ahead.
And the other one,
A time bomb with very good software reviews.
that sounds dramatic.
It is dramatic, Hal. Unfortunately, also true. I'm Kim,
I'm Hal,
and this is Small Business Big AI.
the podcast for operators who know AI is powerful, but still need it to make sense in the real world of payroll, people, profit, and pressure.
And today we are naming something that is quietly happening in the market.
Quietly for now.
Yes, quietly for now, because most business owners are not going to notice this divide all at once. They'll notice it in the numbers first, in thinner margins, slower delivery, and more pressure on the team.
Competitors who seem to be faster, cheaper, and somehow less exhausted.
And that is the frustrating part because from the outside, it may look like a pricing problem or a staffing problem or even a marketing problem.
When underneath, it may be an architecture problem.
Exactly how. And some businesses are using AI to sharpen how they think, listen, decide, and lead, while others are using it like a shortcut for tasks. And that difference is going to show up everywhere in your team, your customers, your systems, your profit, and the way your business feels to run.
That last part matters because a business can look successful from the outside and still feel like chaos from the inside.
And that is where we're going today. So, I want to start with a conversation that I had last week because I've been thinking about it ever since.
Which usually means I'm about to hear about it at the coffee table, in the car, and while I'm trying to watch something completely unrelated, like Monday Night Football.
Correct. Marriage is a content development system.
I have noticed.
But listen, I was talking with a founder, a very smart operator, seven-figure business, and not someone ignoring technology. And this person had been using AI tools consistently, Hal, for a couple of years.
So, not a beginner.
No, not at all. Chat GPT for copy and communication, AI scheduling, a few automations, some workflow improvements, and I mean, nothing wild, nothing irresponsible, just thoughtful, consistent adoption.
That sounds like the owner every consultant tells people to become.
Exactly. And in the middle of our conversation, they said something quite profound. They said, if I stop learning AI for a month, I feel like I am behind.
That is not ambition.
No.
That is exhaustion wearing a productivity costume.
Yes. And listen, Hal, what struck me was the tone. Not excited, not curious, not I'm building the future. More like someone on a treadmill that keeps speeding up.
And the treadmill has a motivational quote taped to the front.
Exactly. Like keep learning, keep adapting, keep going.
Meanwhile, the owner is thinking, how fast do I have to run before I simply allowed to breathe?
That's the feeling. And here is where I think a lot of well meaning advice gets it wrong. People hear that anxiety and they say, oh, that's just imposter syndrome, or stop scrolling TikTok and focus.
which may be partly true, but it misses the bigger issue.
Right. Because, I mean, the treadmill feeling is often not a mindset problem, it is a system signal.
Okay, say that in plain operator language.
Okay. So if the business has no AI architecture, then the owner becomes the architecture.
That is the important part.
Because every new tool, every new workflow, every new idea, we should try this decision. Well, it has to run through the owner's brain. It has to run through their inbox, their judgment, their memory.
Their vacation, their Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, their Monday night football.
And then everybody wonders why the owner feels overwhelmed.
Exactly. The owner is overwhelmed because they are functioning as the missing system.
That's the expensive part. Nobody puts on the software invoice.
And it is why AI tool adoption is not the same as business transformation.
Hold on. I want to make sure nobody hears that wrong. You're not saying adopting AI tools is bad, right?
Oh, no, 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 no. Tools matter. Adoption matters. Learning matters.
Good. Because 2 years ago, using AI tools thoughtfully put a business ahead of the pack.
It did.
But now the question is different.
Yes. The question is not, are you using AI? The question is, what kind of business are you using it inside of? Are you improving an old structure or redesigning the structure itself?
That is the divide.
Let's name the divide directly. Now, I'm calling this tier one and tier two.
And before anyone panics, tier two is not an insult.
Oh, absolutely not. So please hear that. Tier two is not failure.
2 years ago, tier two was actually ahead. It meant you were adopting faster, paying attention, experimenting, trying to get your team faster.
And for a while, that really worked.
But now tier two is getting expensive
And that right there, that's the line.
because you can be using AI and still be operating from an old business model.
Tier two businesses treat AI as a feature, a powerful feature, a productivity multiplier, a way to make the existing business faster and better.
Same house, new appliances.
Yes, better refrigerator, smarter thermostat, fancy lighting.
But the foundation is cracked, the plumbing is old, and the layout still makes no sense.
And that visual, that is unfortunately accurate.
Thank you. I have lived through enough renovations to know.
Oh, yes, you have. Now, tier one businesses treat AI as infrastructure. The business is designed around it: decisions, delivery, customer experience, internal operations, reporting, handoffs, follow up, all of it.
Not AI sprinkled on top, but AI built into how the business runs. And that is where the compounding starts.
Because tier one businesses are not just getting faster, they are becoming structurally lighter, fewer unnecessary handoffs, faster decisions, cleaner data, better consistency.
And the people doing the work that actually requires people,
Right. And meanwhile, tier two businesses are adding tools to a structure that does not change.
which means every tool creates a little improvement and sometimes a little more complexity.
Right. Like another login or another dashboard, another subscription, another place where someone has to remember to check something. And then suddenly the business is AI enabled, but the owner is still the operating system.
That is not transformational. That is a very expensive game of digital duct tape
And this is where the market gets unforgiving.
because customers do not care that your team is trying hard.
Exactly. Your customers, well, they care about speed, clarity, response time, and follow through.
And whether the experience feels competent.
You're right again, Hal. So when a tier one competitor shows up with a cleaner model, the the customer, they don't say, but did you work harder?
They say, that was easier. I'm going with the team.
Exactly. And that is when the tier two owner starts diagnosing the wrong problem. They think it's marketing or pricing or staffing or lead quality.
And sometimes those are real issues.
But sometimes the real issue, and hear me closely, is architecture. And you cannot fix an architecture problem with another app. I was reading a piece recently that used the Industrial Revolution as the frame for what's happening with AI right now. And the point that stayed with me was this: the Industrial Revolution did not happen because factories added machines. I mean, machines existed before the revolution.
The revolution happened when the flow of work changed.
Exactly. The assembly line was not a faster workshop,
It was a different operating model.
and the businesses that understood that distinction, well, they defined the next era.
The same thing happened with the internet.
Yes, you're right. The businesses that got it early did not just add a website and call it innovation. They redesigned distribution. They redesigned customer relationships, sales funnels, support, fulfillment.
The whole operating model.
And the businesses that treated the internet like a digital brochure,
Most of them got squeezed, not because they lacked a website, because they misunderstood the shift.
and we are in that kind of moment once again.
We are. And here's the uncomfortable truth: the window for making this decision on your own terms is narrowing.
Oh, that sounds ominous.
It should. The market does not wait for you to feel ready.
And that right there, that's a clip.
That's an invoice.
Okay, well, explain that.
Delay always sends an invoice. Sometimes it shows up as lost margin, sometimes as lost people, sometimes as a competitor you didn't even take seriously until your clients started taking their calls.
And by then, well, the issue is no longer theoretical.
No, by then it's operational.
Let me make this concrete. So we have two marketing agencies, same city, similar size, similar revenue when our story starts, about 18 months ago.
Yeah, I like it already. Business story, same starting line.
Okay, so agency one, they did what a lot of smart businesses did. They adopted AI tools thoughtfully. I mean, Chat GPT for copy and creative briefs, AI scheduling, AI analytics, maybe Midjourney for visual ideation, project management with AI assisted workflows.
So on paper, they look modern.
Yes, very modern. Their team got faster. The work improved. Clients noticed. They started calling themselves AI forward in pitches.
I could see the slide deck.
Right. Oh, that slide deck, how it was beautiful.
Of course it was.
But let me tell you, the structure underneath did not change. Same service packages, same pricing model, same roles, same handoffs, same approval bottlenecks. same client reporting rhythm, same owner dependency.
So they made the old machine run faster.
Exactly.
And faster is good until you compete against different.
Right. Until you compete against different. And that is where agency two enters the story.
Here we go.
That's right. Same city, same market, similar clients, but agency two built differently from day one. Half the head count.
That will scare some people.
Well, it should make them curious how, because this was not a cost cutting decision, it was a design decision.
Big difference.
Right. And they decided before their first client what kind of infrastructure they were going to operate on. I mean, client intake was automated. A lead comes in, completes a structured intake form, and before a human looks at anything, there is a draft project brief, an initial scope suggestion, and a timeline estimate.
So the first version of work is already moving before the meeting.
Yes, copy and creative iterations were AI assisted, but human review happened at two specific checkpoints.
Not 15 random quick looks in Slack.
Right. No, two checkpoints chosen deliberately because those were the moments that actually required strategic judgment.
That is important. Tier 1 is not remove the human. Tier 1 is stop wasting the human.
Exactly. Client reporting was personalized and automated. It pulled from real client data. It felt custom because it was custom, but no human had to manually build the report from scratch every month.
And the humans in the business were doing what?
Creative direction, how strategic thinking, client relationships. The conversations where a client needs to feel heard and not just served.
So agency 1 had more people doing more manual movement.
Yes,
Agency 2 had fewer people doing higher leverage work.
yes.
Same markets,
Same market,
same kind of clients,
same kind of clients,
different math.
completely different math.
And in business, different math eventually becomes different destiny.
That's the story. And agency one started to feel it around the 12-month mark. And the hard part was that they could not diagnose it at first. Clients were still happy. The work was still good and the team was still busy.
Busy is a dangerous disguise.
Very dangerous. How? Margins were thinning, new client acquisitions, they were getting harder. Prospects kept saying a competitor was just faster or a more streamlined.
Which is customer language for your operating model is showing.
Yes. And agency one, well, they kept thinking, but we use AI.
That's the trap.
Right. They had AI tools.
The competitor had AI architecture.
Every operator listening is either nodding or uncomfortable, and both reactions are useful because the problem was not that agency one ignored AI.
They didn't.
The problem was not even that their work was bad.
It was good.
The problem was that they made the old model faster while the competitor built a different model.
That is the AI divide in one sentence.
So, how do you know which tier you're in? Not which tier you aspire to be in. And I mean, not even which tier your website implies you are in, but which tier your business is actually operating in right now.
This is where the mirror comes out.
So, 3 questions, and I'm calling them the 3 architecture questions.
And I would add, answer these on paper, not in your head.
Yes, because in your head version, well, that always makes the business sound better than it is.
The paper tells on you.
Exactly. It tells on you. Question 1. What decisions in your business can now be made faster with AI?
Not tasks, decisions.
Exactly. Not AI can draft my content. That's a task. Where does a human currently stop, evaluate, choose, approve, route, price, prioritize, or respond?
Who decides what, based on what information, at what point in the workflow?
Now, most owners have never mapped that.
And that gap is where tier 2 lives.
Question 2. What processes can now run without human involvement?
Keyword can.
Not someday, not theoretically. What can run today if the rules were clear, if the data was available, and the handoff was designed?
That question usually exposes a graveyard of we should systematize that ideas.
The follow up process, the intake process, the reporting process,
The did anybody call them back question?
all the little leaks.
And little leaks sink expensive boats.
Question 3, and this is the one I want you to really think about. What does your business do that AI genuinely cannot replicate?
Not what you wish AI couldn't replicate.
Right. Not what feels emotionally uncomfortable to admit, but what genuinely requires human judgment, creativity, trust, ethics, presence, or relationship.
Because everything that does not belong on that irreplaceable list is your system backlog.
That is the clearest way to say it.
If it does not require a human, stop building a business that depends on a human doing it manually every time.
That is tier 1.
Not fewer people for the sake of fewer people, better use of people.
Every person operating where they are irreplaceable, which brings us the choice: systemized or squeezed.
That is the choice.
And it is being made right now.
Whether you're ready or not.
I want to be transparent with you because I'm not observing this from the outside.
We are very much in the middle of it,
Yeah, how we are opening a new insurance agency, Lewis Howard Insurance, Lake Nona, Florida.
which sounds simple when you say it in one sentence.
But hey, it is not simple.
No, it's leases, licensing, staffing, carriers, compliance, technology, customer expectation, and a few moments where you stare at a spreadsheet like it personally betrayed you.
That's right. That is so accurate. And before we have even our first client, I'm going to have to make a choice
Build it traditionally first, then modernize it later.
or design it around AI from the ground up. And I want to be honest, this is not a small decision. When you build around AI from the ground up, you are making decisions early that most businesses make late or even never. You are defining processes before the volume proves the pain. You are building infrastructure before the revenue really makes it feel justified,
You are making choices that will shape how people work before the people are even fully in place.
which means those choices better be thoughtful.
And they better be flexible.
But here's what I keep coming back to: the alternative is building the agency the traditional way first and then trying to retrofit it.
And the retrofit is always more expensive than the original build.
You can say that again.
I know that from experience, that the retrofit is always more expensive than the original build. I have watched enough businesses try to retrofit transformation later to know what it actually costs. Time, disruption, team resistance, customer confusion,
Opportunity lost during the transition.
and the emotional costs of realizing you built the wrong foundation and now have to renovate while the business is open.
The kind where customers are walking through the lobby while you are still moving walls. And that is the worst kind of renovation.
And someone asks where the bathroom is, and nobody knows because the floor plan changed yesterday.
Ooh, that is a very specific nightmare.
Business owners know exactly what I mean.
So next week, episode 91, I am going to take you inside what we're actually building, not theory, the specific decisions, the systems, the surprises, the places where this has been excited, and the places where it has really made me pause.
Because tier one sounds clean when you say it on a podcast, but building it is messy.
Worth it, but messy. Now, today, I want to leave you with the question underneath all of this. So, if you stopped right now, not at the end of a quarter, and really not after planning a retreat and not when things slow down, but if you stop right now and ask yourself the honest version of this question,
Is my business tier one or tier two?
what would the answer be?
You cannot redesign architecture you have not mapped.
And you cannot build the system until you have named what should be in it. Now, that is how this starts. Not with one more tool.
But with 15 minutes of honesty.
And that's it for today's episode of Small Business Big AI.
If you want a framework for moving from tier 2 to tier 1, from plugging AI into your business to actually designing your business around it, check out Kim's Impact course.
It walks you through the transformation step by step, specifically for operators who are ready to stop experimenting and start building with better intent, stronger judgment, and practical business discipline. Now, DM me on LinkedIn or Facebook.
The link is in the show notes.
And next week, we pull back the curtain. We are going inside what Tier 1 actually looks like from the inside. The invisible systems, the decisions, the workflows, what we're building at the podcast and inside Lewis Howard Insurance.
You're going to want to see that one.
So until next time, keep embracing change, keep innovating, and remember, the future of your business is bigger than you think. And the steps you take today will shape the legacy you build tomorrow.
Keep building your technology-enabled superpower.
Now, I'm Kim.
I'm Hal. And this has been Small Business Big AI.
We'll see you in the next episode.